Hello, this is Gosha from Cosmic Agency. Very short introduction here. This is the second part of the stellar navigation, and you're going to hear some amazing things. One of those things is the technology of the tractor beams. Yes, those UFO tractor beams, and what they actually mean and what they can do. And you're going to see that they are not just for bringing up and bringing down the objects from the ship, but they are also to create objects and create matter, and gravity will be explained, and many more exciting things. So enjoy it, and I'm going to see you in the middle of the video with a short surprise. Gravity. As I have described above, all matter is created as the result of a frequency and its harmonics, forming standing waves, making a concentrated energy point known as a node, all within a potential energy field medium known as the ether. A node is an object, solid matter. For a frequency to be one, it must have a time lapse or variation between its energy troughs and valleys, for all frequency is a series of waves within an energy field, and that variation is given by an observer with consciousness, as it depends on a time frame or interval that is a direct consequence of the observer's awareness level that determines the density of existence it perceives, as described above. The harmonics of a frequency is the mathematically precise combination and sequencing of frequency changes that create both a perceived solid object and a dynamic sequence of movements between those perceived solid objects. All dynamic sequences in precise order are harmonics of a frequency and function in a linear sequence of waves within the media of potential energy moving to form a standing wave or a node. This movement to form a standing wave or to form a node is a flow or a current in the ether, and this current is gravity. All objects, big and small, are the result of this gravity flow. A planet, a star, or a black hole are formed in their precise locations because there is a gravity flow in that location, converging there, and its harmonics of a frequency create a standing point or node known as the object. So, no object, big or small, has gravity. Gravity is not the result of mass and matter. Gravity is what forms mass and matter, and it is directly proportional. I have described what an etheric map is, also known as a quantum field map. I've also said up to now how everything is represented and everything is done managing and manipulating frequencies. And I have said that they all correspond to precise mathematical interactions between them. Now we will see how this is done.
Well, hello everybody. At this point I would like to interrupt this amazing article and actually have a little surprise for you and introduce you to someone, someone called Rainier, who first is actually someone who has been talking to Swaruu for quite some time. He is an engineer and he has actually made an amazing video about the gravity, having talked to Swaruu about this. So I thought, okay, I'm going to introduce him and maybe have a small chat with him about this whole topic of gravity, how he understood it. Because from what I understand, he has had some more profound conversations about this topic. So, hello, Rainier. How are you?
Hi, Goshen. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be in your channel and, help you somehow, if in my humble way, to anything, any question that you might have about any topic.
Yes, no, for sure. Thank you so much for coming. And just as a short introduction, who are you? Where are you located right now?
All right. So let me give you a brief introduction. So about me, about myself. So I was actually born in Venezuela, and then I moved at a very young age to Canada, where I did all my studies. And I'm currently, since the past 5 years, I'm living in the States. I'm actually in Florida. That's where I'm living. So I have a background in engineering. I've been working in aerospace for over 20 years already.
Wow.
And it's a passion for me. Everything that has to be and related to anything that flies, space and UFOs, everything. This is something that's my passion since a very young age. So that's the reason why I actually pursue that career and I went towards that.
You must be getting along with Swaruu very, very well because she's crazy about aviation and flying and all that, right?
She is actually. Though sometimes it's really hard to to talk to her because she has so much knowledge about all these terms, and it's. The other day we actually, I'm also a pilot, a private pilot.
Wow.
But I haven't flown in a long time, and we were talking about aviation and stuff, and she put some acronyms, and I totally forgot what that meant, and I said, oh my God, how do I? But she's like so sharp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to explain a little bit to the audience about what are we talking about here, Swaruu, Rainier, because as I always explain, we are not the only ones that Swaruu and the Taygetan team has been talking to. There are hundreds and hundreds of people, and just some of us coming out sharing this material. And Rainier is one of those people who has been talking with Swaruu. How long have you been talking with her, Rainier?
Yeah, it's been a little bit over a year already.
Over a year.
I think my contact started somewhere. I think it was May 2018 or June 2018. I can't remember, but it's a little bit over a year, and very happy.
Okay, and so your main channel is in Spanish, right? Can you give the name of your Spanish channel, please?
Yeah, Exactly. So my main channel is called Codificando el Futuro. That's my main channel where I produce all my videos and all my conversations with Swaruu. But I also have I just opened recently another channel. I only have like 2 videos in there, but I need to take the time to redo all this videos again in English, and so be patient. It's called it's the same name but in English. It's called Codifying the Future. It's actually the same.
Okay,
Codifying
cool.
the Future. Yeah.
I didn't even know that you had that channel already. So yeah, I definitely encourage everybody to check that channel, because he has had additional information that complements, you know, this whole picture. And I encourage you, now that you have the viewers coming your way, to keep translating those videos, because I mean, this information is so valuable and it needs to be shared with as many people as possible.
I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to actually, go forward in English, because this is my first time that I've been interviewed in English. So hopefully I won't bug. But
no, don't worry. You know, it took me time too. Actually, I spent the whole year doing the Spanish videos, and then suddenly it occurred to me, hey, I should do the English channel as well. So, but now, you know, it's a double work. It's double work because you need to do everything twice. But it's worth it. You know, the information is so important.
Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea. I mean, actually, it's really hard, and I actually, I'm feeling what you went through. I think, when you had to actually dedicate to this 100% of your time, because I wish I could actually do this 100% of my time, because there is so much information and so fulfilling. You know, it's like my mind sometimes is like wow, in another planet. Yes, and I wish I could do this full time, but for the moment I can't. But yes, it's amazing. Yeah.
And even doing it full time, you know, I'm feeling anxious sometimes because I'm getting behind some of the material, like the conversation. Keep flow. I know you have a family and everything. So anyway, I just I will for sure bring you on again at some time, so we can talk more. But now let's go back to this topic of this video, which is gravity, among other things. And I would like you to explain in your own words how your experience with this whole topic of gravity was, how do you understand it, and how does it conflict, you know, as an engineer, with what you know on the subject. So
right. Well, let me just first tell you that everything that I have learned, right, is just shift. It was like a 180-degree shift, like that. It's totally different now. I can tell you, for example, what we've been taught in school that I can remember about gravity, and you learn that gravity is a force, right? Gravity is a force by which planets and objects are drawn to it, right? That gravity depends on the actual mass of the body, or a planet. So the bigger the mass, well, the more gravity it has, and the more force it has to actually attract objects toward it. So what can I say? That's what we've been taught, right? And every object in the universe exerts a gravitational pull. That's what it is, right? And that gravitational pull is influenced, or is it depends on the mass of that planet or object itself, like I just explained, right? So the bigger it is, so let's say the more power you have to attract objects towards you. So that's what I learned, right? That's something that everybody learns in engineering, for example, myself, that I can remember. Right? Now, this is totally different now. I have the privilege to have been given a document, the stellar navigation. And I've been learning so many things that the concept that we have about gravity, it's not that way. That's not how actually gravity works, right? Now, gravity is actually, we have to see it as a flow, as a stream. That's how gravity is in the universe. And this stream is an energy within the ether. So, and the ether being an energy in itself, because the ether is a potential energy that we call. So, you learn things like what is a potential energy and what is a cinetic energy, for example, and potential energy in this case is an energy that is contained within itself. And if you can imagine that the ether is this energy, I mean, everything depends on it. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but it's totally different now, what I have learned. And I have to mention also the fact that I have never been taught that in how things operate actually is that you have frequency now too. And the frequency is a factor that we need to actually consider. It's a main factor because everything in the universe works by frequency. I mean, I don't know where to go from here, honestly, because it's totally new. Everything is new, and I haven't organized all these thoughts in my mind yet. It's like I have to, after so many years of studies and thinking that I knew something that works some way, and now it's totally different. It takes time. It takes time. And also, we have the factor of zero gravity. It's another factor that.
Yeah. Before you go into zero gravity, let me just stop you for a second, because yes, what you said so far is exactly how I feel as well, even though I haven't studied such detail. But as you said, the gravity, okay, it's like from what I understand here, and I'm actually reading from the text, the movement to form a standing wave and to form an object, a node. That movement, that current in the ether is the gravity, is what actually creates the objects and the mass of the objects. And the gravity, as I hear say, and this was surprising to me, gravity is not the result of mass and matter. Gravity is what forms matter and mass. And gravity is like that magnetic pull between. It's like a result, a consequence only of that. And so it's amazing that we always thought that it's the opposite, right? That it's the object that creates the gravity, but it's actually the gravitational movement, that stream is a movement that creates the standing wave, which creates the node, which is the object.
Exactly, and there's more terms to add to this. How frequency plays a role in that, and how the attention plays a role in this, and how the but you're right. It's actually this flow of energy that is in charge of providing and providing a gravity to a mass, to a planet. And I want to clarify something. I'm not an expert of this. I'm still learning all these subjects. It's complicated because we have been introducing terms that I have never thought that they will play a role in gravity. So, but actually, that's how planets are formed, right? So is this a gravitational flow that actually it's been centered in a point, in a location, and it's this flow that is in charge of providing the gravity to the object. It's not the mass that has gravity itself.
Exactly.
It's the whole energy surrounding that is in charge to actually provide a gravity to a location, a point, or an object, a mass, and that's how I understand it. So. Yeah.
That's something very new. That's something very new for sure.
One thing that we need to keep in mind is actually the frequency. It plays such a big role when you want to understand how gravity actually works. And it's this frequency because every molecule in the universe, and I'm taking the example on how objects, metallic alloys are created, what I have learned, but this might be also applicable to how planets are formed and everything. The molecules, right, at a molecular level, they are all gathered together following a high frequency energy pattern. So, and this is very important, but this is, like I said, it's another topic on its own. And what is gravity itself? Gravity, it's a high frequency pattern. That's all what gravity is. So if we are able to understand it, even myself, I need to understand more about this. If you know that gravity is a high frequency pattern, then you'll be able to understand how objects are made and how planets are created. But
yeah, and you can and you can create things, and you can how to govern the creation of matter itself. You dominate the creation of matter, and actually we are going into the tractor beams, and the tractor beams, how they create matter, use influencing the gravitational field. Or something like that. It's a mind-blowing information.
Oh, it's incredible. She gave me some examples of how, they can create things in your hands. They can. It's incredible. The technology, it's really out of this world.
Yes, it is.
The technology is such that I don't know where to start.
Yeah, you mentioned the zero gravity, and I interrupted you. What was it that you wanted to say on that subject?
Okay, so about zero gravity, right? So I just wanted to say that without zero gravity, you cannot create. Okay, it's because I wanted to talk to you. I thought we were going to talk about these materials, right? And how do you create? Yeah. There's some type of materials that I made a video about this on how do you manufacture them? In order to create them. You really need to understand how zero gravity works. So and zero gravity, it's right now we cannot achieve that here on Earth, even though I've been told that we know a little bit, but it's not the general public knows this. It's just kept, black ops and stuff like that. But even though I believe they don't understand it 100%. Without zero G, you cannot create a molecularly stable or a perfectly uniform molecule, and this is very important when you're actually creating objects, and especially like metallic objects and stuff like that. You see, gravity. In gravity, the molecules tend to lump together, and that's something when you're creating an object here on Earth. Because of gravity, you're melting. We cannot work at a molecular level, so we tend to manufacture parts just by melting materials and putting it together, and everything gets lumped into the bottom. And what I bring in this example is because their technology is so advanced, right? That they can actually, with frequency, they can talk to molecules. Now, we're talking here a molecule that is 1/10 the size of a talcum powder grain. So I don't know if you can imagine that. So it's so tiny, and they're able to actually, by their computer is able, by frequency manipulation, they're able to give an order to a molecule on how to behave. So, I can go on and on with this, but it's still related to gravity in the sense that when you understand how gravity works in the creation of life and everything, so it's also applicable when you're creating an object or a tool or something like that. And that's how they create part of their holes in the aircraft and cockpits and stuff like that, and materials. It's amazing. It's really incredible that they make this intelligence material, a material that they know by the input frequency, and the materials are able to behave differently. This I've never heard about this before. It's it's incredible. A material is intelligent because it can actually become transparent.
What material are you talking about? Are you talking about that polymer?
Okay, so yeah, so in this case, this polymorphic material it's actually a titanium alloy, and that actually can behave like that. But it's all related to the same thing, you know. These are materials that are able to actually move, transform. They're auto-repairable, Gosha, meaning they can fix themselves. Like I just mentioned, they can become transparent.
But are we just talking about the polymorphic materials here?
Well, this is a type of material. This is one kind, but the reason I mention it is because we talk about zero gravity, and you cannot make these materials if you're not in zero gravity.
Okay, see, I never talked to Swaruu about that. That's why I wanted to bring you on to fill that information here.
Right. So it's you know, we're manipulating how do you say, molecules, and they're so tiny. So imagine you can give an input to a molecule like that, and these molecules that I told you that are 1/10 the size of a talcum powder grain, right? They're so tiny. You can imagine that these molecules sometimes you have round like in a sphere molecules, and you also have the crystalline ones, you know. And these crystalline ones, you can achieve strengths and support heat that are out of this world for a reason. So
exciting, Rainier. Okay, I'm gonna let the audience continue now to another topic, which is the tractor beams. Now they will listen about the tractor beams. Anything else that you would like to say about the tractor beams, perhaps?
Oh no, I mean, I'm gonna let you explain that, but I can just tell you what they can do with this is incredible. If you allow, if I have 2 minutes, I will explain this.
Explain.
So I asked one time, I was talking to Anika and Swaruu, and I try to understand this subject because it's complicated. And I asked her, could you give me an example, a practical example?
Yeah.
And I say, let's say that Swaruu and Anika come here to Earth, and you want to go to the beach, and you need an umbrella. So what happened? You don't have the money to buy the umbrella, for example. Can you use the manifestation? Because they were telling me that their ships, they're able to actually recreate an holographic object, and they can project that object to you in the ground, in surface. It's incredible. I mean, and that's part of the tractor beam, right? And what they told me is that they not only they can manifest that object in the ground here on 3D, but they're able to change the form, color, shape, everything. It's incredible, and yeah, I mean that's.
It is incredible, and you know, the tractor beam works like this, a 3D printer, and they can print anything. But anyway, I'm gonna let you with it and enjoy more about tractor beams, and about other things will be explained in the continuation of this video. So enjoy.
Tractor beam. Nearly any ship, big or small, comes equipped with a tractor beam. It is used for many things, from simple cargo hauling, bringing things up and down from a ship, or it can be used to pull or push large objects or even another ship. The beam that is used to achieve this is a controlled gravity field. This is achieved using a spherical-shaped turbine with an opening on one end. This turbine has a series of internal concentric spheres like an onion would have, each one of them spinning in the opposite direction from one another. One in one direction, the next in the opposite one, the next in the former, and they are made of a special non-magnetic ceramic and metal alloy. Each sphere is filled with enriched mercury in a high fluid state. Each individual concentric rotating sphere is fed with a computer-controlled high-energy electric current, and the counter-rotating movement at high RPM among them creates a magnetic vortex inside the core of the main sphere. When the energy is high enough, this resulting magnetic plasma will start to glow with a very intense brilliance out of the large hole in the main sphere. And this light is then passed through a series of lenses that are used to focus and concentrate the light for it to be able to be projected as a large beam of concentrated low diffusion light, as a laser would be. These special lenses are inside a cylindric drum made up of several thousands of high-energy computer-controlled nanoelectromagnets placed in a hexagonal honeycomb pattern, and they are made of or formed by high-energy hologram projectors embedded within the honeycomb. These lenses are not made of any material such as glass. They are a hologram, but their high-energy nature has the same effect over the plasma light beam as if they were a solid object, but with the added advantage of them being completely modifiable at will to control their effects on the exiting light beam. These hologram lenses, combined with the high-energy nanoelectromagnets, change and control the internal frequency of the exiting plasma light with high precision. The exact relationship, distance, and the relative speed on each concentric counter-rotating spheres results in a change in the frequency output of the plasma concentrated frequency light field they generate, and are controlled by the computer, and they are spun using the same principle of an electric motor. These frequency changes within the plasma light of the beam are the equivalent of a controlled gravity field within the light beam in relationship to its surroundings, because of their controlled high-energy nature. The ship using the tractor beam has special frequency sensors that provide the main computer with the necessary information to determine the exact frequency of the gravitational flow of the area surrounding it. Once you have determined that frequency, you can now generate the exact opposite with your tractor beam, and all objects within will no longer be affected by the gravitational field of the surrounding area. They will be under the influence of the tractor beam, and manipulating the frequency output of the beam will determine whether the objects inside will move up to the ship or down from the ship, and minute changes in the frequency control the speed these objects will move while inside its area of influence. While the main counter-rotating concentric spheres control the main frequency total power output of the tractor beam, the high-energy magnets inside the exit drum, combined with the holographic lenses, control the minute changes of frequency and details within the beam. The high-energy holographic lenses can take any shape and form to make the tractor beam serve also as a projector. The holographic lenses can result or form an exact shape to a subatomic level, all controlled by the computer. This shape is formed by exact frequencies of magnetism and light in an exact relationship between them. That exact relationship between them is what determines or forms the shape of the object. This can be seen or explained as a mathematical frequency construct as explained above. This means that the tractor beam can project any shape onto the ground and onto a frequency field at will. The controlled high-energy frequencies of the tractor beam, resulting as a gravity field, if set at enough and at an exact power rate, can change the frequency of the matter under its influence, using the dominant frequency principle. When an object has one specific frequency of matter and is exposed to another of higher power and energy, it will change to match the stronger one. The combination between the computer-controlled high-energy electromagnets and the holographic projectors that are capable of minute detail at a molecular level results in a precise frequency matrix formed within the exit honeycomb cylinder of the tractor beam that will subsequently transfer it into an external frequency matrix or into the so-called exterior world. The precise gravity field matrix inside the tractor beam can form an object, first as a hologram of it, then as a frequency matrix map complete with all its internal frequency changes and its complex harmonics controlling those frequencies. This means that we can create an object with our computer and then successfully graft it on to an exterior world as a solid, so-called real solid matter object, where from the point of a ground-level observer, such an object would have manifested there out of thin air. This is essentially creating hard matter out of energy. The energy used to create the so-called hard matter comes from the tractor beam and from the energy reactor of the starship involved in the process. And we could describe this function of the tractor beam as an energy frequency-based advanced 3D printer, adding complexity to the process and imprinting a numerical sequence within the harmonics of the frequencies used, as described above. We can also insert a dynamic situation or sequence of events into another frequency matrix known as exterior or real world. As the tractor beam manages the exact frequency and all the harmonics of a frequency involved in the process and the mathematical frequency relationship with the environment as well, the once hologram or holographic object will remain as a solid piece of matter, as the harmonics of the frequencies involved continue to feed the standing waves. And therefore, the nodes created that way do not dissolve back into potential energy. The object remains as solid matter long after the tractor beams has left the scene. Harmonics of a frequency in a potential energy soup, be it the ether or the interior of a tractor beam, will cause standing waves who form nodes, and nodes are hard matter, to a subatomic or to a molecular level. Piece enough of them together with the correct harmonics and to the correct precise relationship among them, and you have created an object out of energy. As I have said above, there is no matter. There is only a complex energy frequency soup forming everything. If this soup is understood and modified using technology, you can do virtually anything with and in it. As an example, to make a crop circle, all you need is to choose a geometric shape, any one you like. Then the computer will pass it to the projectors in the magnetic exit drum of the tractor beam that will modify the high-energy plasma light gravity output of the main spheres that will imprint the chosen geometric shape onto the crop field below as each area within the tractor beam has a different gravity value and strength according to the chosen geometric shape, following what the holographic lenses dictate. The printing of the geometric shape onto the crop field can be done using this gravity stamping mechanism only, but it would result in a messy mechanic effect on the plants. But if we change the value of the harmonics of the frequency of matter at a precise distance from the ground, using our tractor beam, we can force the nodes in the plant stems to change from straight to a bent pattern at our will. This is not bending the crops. It is reshaping them to a bent pattern using our technology. As this process is not absolutely perfect, and it may involve some elements that were not taken into consideration, such as dust, dirt, and debris on the stems of the plants, which structure we have modified using the tractor beam, as well as small variations within the energy matrix during the whole process. Some unused or excess energy will usually remain in the area, resulting in a small but measurable amount of ionizing radiation present there. This also occurs when an object is created as well, using the process described above. But this radiation is usually not a problem, and as it is very weak, it is not harmful. Frequency sensors. For the computer of a ship to detect and determine the exact frequency of matter in the surrounding area, very sensitive magnetic-based frequency sensors are used. They are placed along the hull of a ship in special places such as the nose of the craft, wings, stabilizers and leading edges, tail fins, spine, and underbelly, always in specific places that are subjected to different flight dynamics or different exposure pressure dynamics with the surrounding area the ship is in. These sensors detect changes and disturbances in a magnetic field like strength, direction of flow, rotation, angles, and flux. They work with two aspects or detection components, one that detects the overall magnetic field and the other that detects variations within that field called vector components. These are the individual points of the magnetic field and how they relate to one another. Magnetic fields are closely related to gravity fields, being essentially the same thing. Such as the light spectrum does, magnetism also has a spectrum of its own, with a metallic common magnet on one low-frequency side, and gravity, as from a planet, on the high-frequency other. The gravity is a background high-frequency flow as described above, and the magnetic field is a concentration point within that flow, usually of a much lower frequency. The only difference between them is only their power differential, or localized points of view, vector components. So, we can detect a gravity flow of a location by comparing the known magnetic flow value within an instrument with the changes that occur in it when exposed to an external environment. Every electric current has a magnetic value, and having a wide array of electric current strengths inside the sensor, voltage and amperage, and observing minute changes within, will determine the value of the gravity frequency field that is surrounding and affecting it by recording the changes in the electrical resistance of the magnetic field. These wide array of minute electric currents and their magnetic fields continuously fluctuate with a set of precise parameters. This type of sensor is very effective for detecting large magnetic and gravitational fields in large areas, but not for minute and precise locations. In order to measure the precise gravitational frequency of a very small place, like a square micron or even smaller, we need even more sensitivity and precision, and to achieve this, we use another type of sensor called a superconducting quantum interference device. This device measures the interference or the influence a gravity field or a magnetic field has upon the flow of individual electrons tunneling or moving through a very thin 30 angstroms or less non-superconductive insulation material from one superconductive current carried material to another using exact no parameters. This device is so sensitive that it can detect individual electric depolarizations and their magnetic gravitational changes happening among individual neurons in the brain. Superconductive, a material usually metal alloy or ceramic that does not present any resistance to the flow of an electric current. This capacity of the material usually is present at a very low temperatures, but we Taygetans use normal temperature superconductive materials as well as supercooled ones. Even though these sensors are very sensitive, they cannot give us the complete values of frequencies involving locations and objects to a subatomic scale, nor can they detect each and every magnetic gravitational frequency value of an area. But we don't need them to detect that data, as we know that matter in an overall energy frequency soup or environment will always depend on predictable mathematical parameters, and our computers can make the necessary calculations to fill in the required data to a very precise and accurate degree, using what the sensors can provide, and that is more than enough to fulfill the data requirements of the same computer, for it to be able to determine the necessary harmonics of frequencies to be taken in account, or as parameters, in order to achieve an effective manifestation or grafting of a holographic object into an external field. To be able to manifest a solid object using technology, two critical things are needed. 1. Extremely powerful computers. 2. A medium or a machine able to control magnetic and gravitational frequencies with molecular precision.